There is a particular kind of tired that sleep does not fix. You know the one. You lie down at the end of another impossible day, your body finally still, and yet the weight does not lift. Because it was never really in your body. It was in your soul. The list that never ends scrolls on behind your closed eyes. The things you did not get to. The people who needed you and did not get enough of you. The bills, the messages, the appointments. The demands coming at you from every direction at once, more than any one person could possibly hold. And you feel like you are treading water in the deep end, your chin just barely above the surface, your arms aching, and the awful certainty that one more wave, one more thing, and you will go under. That is where so many people are living right now. Not in one great crisis, but in the slow, relentless drowning of simply too much. Day after day after day, with no shore in sight. And if that is where you are tonight, if you are bone tired in a way that rest does not touch, if you feel like you are barely keeping your head above water and failing everyone anyway, if you cannot remember the last time you were not behind, if you are carrying a load that has long since stopped feeling possible, and if, on top of all of it, you carry a quiet shame that a person of faith should not feel this crushed, then I want you to set something down for just a little while and stay here with me. Because there is a word for you tonight, an old and steady word that does not pile one more thing onto your back, but begins, gently, to lift the weight. So breathe, as deeply as you can manage, and let me speak to the one who is so very tired of carrying it all. And before I go any further, let me tell you what this hour is not. It is not one more voice telling you to do more, try harder, get up earlier, be more disciplined, pray with more effort. You have heard enough of that, and frankly, more effort is the last thing your exhausted soul can bear right now. This is not a to-do list. It is the opposite. It is permission to set something down. It is an invitation to stop, just for this little while, and let yourself be spoken to gently, the way you would speak to someone you loved who had pushed themselves far past the point of breaking. If no one has said it to you in a long time, let me say it now. You are not lazy. You are not weak. You are not failing. You are tired. Deeply and understandably tired. And that is not a sin to be scolded, but a wound to be tended. So let it be tended for this hour. Let me begin by simply naming what this is like, because the weight of too much is one of the loneliest burdens there is, and you deserve to have it seen. It is the sheer relentlessness of it. It is not that you cannot do hard things. You have done hard things, over and over. It is that it never stops. There is no margin, no pause, no moment to catch your breath before the next demand arrives. The dishes are done, and they are dirty again. The inbox is cleared, and it is full again. You handle the crisis, and another is already waiting behind it. Life has become a thing that comes at you faster than you can possibly meet it, and you are always behind, always reacting, never caught up, running as fast as you can just to stay in the same exhausting place. It is the relentlessness, more than any single task, that wears the soul down to nothing. And perhaps the hardest part is that, from the outside, none of it looks like much. There is no single dramatic tragedy you can point to, no one great blow that everyone would understand. It is just 1,000 small things, none of them remarkable on its own, that have somehow added up to a weight that is crushing you. And so you feel you have no right to be this tired, no permission to struggle, because nothing is technically wrong. Other people have real problems, you tell yourself. You just have a busy life, like everyone else. But the accumulation of 1,000 ordinary pressures can break a person as surely as one great catastrophe. And the fact that your burden is made of small things does not make it light. You do not need a dramatic excuse to be exhausted. The ordinary weight of an overloaded life is enough, and it is real. And you are allowed to admit that it is too much, even if, from the outside, it looks like nothing more than a normal life that has quietly become unbearable. And there is a particular cruelty in how the relentlessness erases your hope of relief. When you face a single hard thing, you can endure it by telling yourself, just get through this, and then you can rest. The hope of the finish line gives you strength for the sprint. But when it is too much, all the time, with no end in sight, that hope is taken away. There is no finish line, no point at which you have earned your rest, only the next thing, and the next, stretching out endlessly ahead. And it is that loss of any foreseeable relief, more than the tasks themselves, that crushes the spirit. You are not just tired. You are tired with no end in sight, running a race that has no finish. And somewhere, deep down, you have stopped believing you will ever be allowed to stop. That hopelessness about the relentlessness is its own heavy weight. And I want you to know that the endlessness you feel is not actually the truth of your future. Even though it feels completely real from inside the exhaustion, it is a tiredness that goes all the way down. People tell you to get some rest, as though a good night's sleep would fix it, and you want to laugh or cry, because you know this tired lives somewhere sleep cannot reach. It is a weariness of the spirit, an exhaustion of the deep down places, the kind that comes from carrying too much for too long without relief. You can sleep and wake up tired. You can take a day off and still feel the weight. Because the burden is not just physical, it is the accumulated weight of every responsibility, every worry, every person depending on you, every plate you are spinning. All of it pressing down on a soul that was never meant to hold this much at once. And this kind of tiredness can frighten you, because it does not respond to the usual remedies. You take the weekend, and Monday finds you just as depleted. You sleep in, and you wake heavy. You take the vacation you saved for, and you spend it unable to truly relax. Or you come home and the weight settles back over you within a day. And so you begin to wonder, with a quiet dread, whether you will ever feel rested again. Whether something in you is permanently broken. Whether this gray, depleted version of yourself is simply who you are now. Hear me gently. You are not broken beyond repair. And this is not who you are. This is who you have become, under a weight that no one was built to carry indefinitely. And when the weight is properly addressed, when you are able to truly lay it down and be restored, the person underneath, the one who can laugh and rest and feel alive again, is still there, waiting to be recovered. Deep weariness is not a life sentence. It is a signal. A kind and urgent signal from your own soul and body, telling you that something must change, that you were not made to run on empty forever. Listen to it. It is not your enemy. It is trying to save you. It is the feeling that you are failing everyone. This may be the cruelest part, because when there is too much, something always has to give. And so you are perpetually dropping something, letting someone down, falling short somewhere. You are not fully present for your children because you are thinking about work. You are behind at work because of things at home. Everyone seems to need more of you than there is of you to give, and so you move through your days with the constant low guilt of the person who can never quite do enough, never quite be enough, for all the people and demands pulling at them. You are not failing because you are inadequate. You are failing to do the impossible, which is a very different thing. But in the moment, it feels exactly like failure. And notice the impossible math you are being asked to do. There is one of you with a fixed number of hours and a finite amount of energy, and there are more demands than those hours and that energy could ever cover. This is not a problem you can solve by being better, faster, more organized, more disciplined. It is not a character flaw. It is an arithmetic impossibility. When the demands exceed the capacity, something must go unmet. And that is not because you are deficient, but because you are one person, and not many. The guilt you feel assumes that with enough effort you could meet it all, and so every unmet thing becomes an accusation. But you could not meet it all, because no one could. The honest truth is that you have been handed a load that would overwhelm anyone. And the fact that you cannot carry all of it perfectly is not a verdict on your worth. It is simply the limit of being human. Stop measuring yourself against an impossible standard and then condemning yourself for not reaching it. You are doing the work of 3 people with the strength of 1. And the wonder is not that you are dropping things. The wonder is that you are still standing at all. It is the loneliness of carrying it without anyone to hand it to. Perhaps there is no one to share the load. Perhaps you are the one everyone else leans on. The strong one. The one who holds it all together. And there is simply no one above you to catch what falls. Or perhaps there are people, but you cannot bring yourself to ask, because asking feels like admitting you cannot cope, and you have built your whole identity on being the one who copes. So you carry it alone, all of it. And the aloneness makes every ounce of it heavier, because a burden shared is halved, and a burden carried in isolation only grows. And underneath all of it, there is this spiritual guilt. This is the weight on top of the weight, the particular burden carried by those who love God. Because somewhere, you have absorbed the idea that a real Christian, a person of strong faith, should not feel this overwhelmed. If you truly trusted God, you think, would you not have peace? Should you not be stronger than this by now? And so you add to your exhaustion a layer of shame, scolding yourself for your own weariness, convinced that your inability to cope is a spiritual failure, a sign that your faith is too small. You are drowning, and then you are blaming yourself for drowning and calling it a lack of faith. Let me speak to that lie before anything else, because it may be the heaviest thing you are carrying. And it is not even true. It is a particularly cruel weight, because it turns the one place that should be your refuge into another source of accusation. Your faith, which is meant to be where you go to find rest, becomes instead one more arena in which you are failing, one more standard you are not meeting. You come to God already crushed, and instead of finding rest, you find a fresh layer of guilt for needing rest at all. And so, slowly, you may begin to avoid Him, the way an exhausted employee avoids a demanding boss, because you cannot bear one more voice telling you that you are not enough. But that voice is not God's voice. The God of the Scriptures does not stand among your accusers, adding his disappointment to your exhaustion. That harsh, scolding voice in your head that calls your weariness a sin, that is not the voice of your Father. It is the voice of the lie, and it has been slandering God's character to you. Your real Father, the true one, looks at his overwhelmed child with the tenderest compassion and longs only to give you rest. Hear this clearly. Being overwhelmed is not a sin, and it is not a failure of your faith. Stress, exhaustion, the sense of being crushed under too much, these are human experiences, the natural result of finite people facing more than finite people can carry. They are not evidence that something is wrong with your faith. Consider that the Lord Jesus himself, in the garden the night before his death, was so overwhelmed with anguish that he sweat, as it were, great drops of blood, and told his friends that his soul was exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. If the sinless Son of God could be that overwhelmed, then your being overwhelmed is not proof of weak faith. It is proof that you are human, carrying a human load, and the God who became human understands it from the inside. So set down the guilt, at least. You can be a person of deep faith and still be exhausted. The two have never been opposites. And here is something even better. God is not standing over you in your exhaustion with disappointment, tapping his foot, waiting for you to pull yourself together. He is drawing near to you in it, with the tenderness of a father toward an overtired child. He sees the weight you are under, more clearly than you see it yourself, and his heart toward you is not judgment, but compassion. The Scriptures are full of his overwhelmed people, and full of his gentleness toward them. Let me show you some of them, because you are in far better company than you know, and what God did for them, he is ready to do for you. Notice, as we go, that God's response to overwhelmed people in the Scriptures is almost never a rebuke. He does not tell them to pull themselves together. Again and again, he draws near. He provides. He strengthens. He gives rest. He sends help. He opens eyes to see what they could not see. The God of the Bible has a particular tenderness toward the weary and the heavy laden, a special gentleness reserved for those at the end of their strength. He is not impressed by the people who never need him. He is drawn to the ones who do. So, as you hear these stories, do not hold yourself at the edge of them, as though they were for stronger or holier people than you. They are for exactly the kind of person you are tonight. Tired, stretched too thin, wondering how to go on. Step into them. They were written down and kept for centuries precisely so that an overwhelmed soul, on a hard night, could find in them the steadying hand of God. There was a man named Nehemiah who took on a task so large it should have crushed him. The wall of the great city lay in ruins, broken down, burned, a vast field of rubble, and he set himself to rebuild it. Imagine the scale of it, the sheer impossibility, a mountain of broken stone and a wall in pieces stretching off in every direction, and a handful of weary, frightened people to rebuild it by hand. And as if the size of the task were not enough, enemies surrounded them, mocking them, threatening them, conspiring to attack, so that the workers had to build with a tool in one hand and a weapon in the other, never safe, never resting. And partway through, the people said the truest, most human thing. They said, "The strength of the bearers of burdens is decayed. and there is much rubbish, so that we are not able to build the wall." Hear what they were saying. "We are exhausted. There is too much. The rubble is more than we can move. We cannot do this. We are not able." How honest that is, and how familiar. The strength of the burden bearers is gone. There is too much rubble. We are not able. If you have ever stood at the foot of your own impossible task, surrounded by more than you could ever clear, and felt your strength simply give out, then you have stood where those builders stood. And notice that God did not rebuke them for that confession. The honest admission of their exhaustion is recorded in the Holy Scriptures without a word of condemnation, because there is no shame in it. It was simply true. He never asked them to pretend, and He does not ask you to pretend either. You can say the true thing out loud. "I am exhausted. There is too much. I cannot do this in my own strength." That confession is not the failure of faith. It is the doorway through which real help finally comes. Because God does not pour His strength into people who insist they are managing fine, but into the ones honest enough to admit they are not able. And here is what is so important about their story. That admission was not the end of the work. It was a turning point in it. Because notice what Nehemiah had done and kept doing. When the threats first came, the Scripture says simply, "We made our prayer unto our God and set a watch." He prayed and he set a watch. He brought the overwhelming thing honestly to God, and he took the next wise, practical step. He did not pretend he was able when he was not. He did not collapse in despair either. He prayed, and he acted, and he kept going, one stone at a time. And he did not make them carry it all alone, or all at once. He organized them, set them in families, had them work in shifts, so that some labored while others stood guard, sharing the impossible load between many hands rather than crushing each person under the whole of it. He reminded them, when fear rose up, to remember the Lord, and he told them, "Our God shall fight for us." And do you know what happened to that impossible wall, that mountain of rubble that the exhausted builders said they were not able to rebuild? It got built. Not by superhuman strength, not by people who were never tired, but by ordinary, exhausted people who prayed and took the next step and shared the load and trusted God to do what they could not, and kept going, one stone at a time, until the impossible thing was finished. There is a detail in that story worth holding on to. Nehemiah did not tell the exhausted people to simply try harder, to summon more willpower, to push through on their own depleted strength. He restructured the whole work so that the load was shared and the people were protected. He arranged for rest and for guard duty, for labor and for relief, so that no single person was carrying the impossible weight alone and unprotected. In other words, the solution to the overwhelm was not more effort from individuals already at their limit. It was a wiser arrangement of the load, shared among many, supported by God. There is a lesson in that for you. If you are drowning, the answer is very rarely to simply push harder. You are already pushing as hard as a person can. The answer is more often to change the arrangement, to share the load, to let others in, to build in the rest and the support that make the impossible sustainable. Working yourself to collapse is not noble, and it is not necessary. Even the great work of rebuilding the wall was done by people who were organized to protect and relieve one another, not by heroes carrying it all alone. Hear what that means for you. You do not have to pretend you are able when you are not. The honest cry, "I cannot do this. There is too much. I am not able," is not a failure of faith. It is the beginning of the only kind of help that is real. Bring the honest, "I cannot," to God, as Nehemiah's builders did. Then take the next single step, the next stone, not the whole wall. Let others share the load. You are never meant to hold all of it in your 2 hands alone. And trust that the God who rebuilt a ruined wall through exhausted people can carry you through your own impossible thing. Not by making you superhuman, but by meeting your honest weakness with His strength. 1 stone, 1 day at a time. And do not miss how ordinary those builders were. They were not spiritual giants or tireless heroes. They were frightened, weary people with aching backs who wanted to quit and said so out loud. God did not wait for them to become strong before He worked through them. He worked through them precisely in their weakness. That is your hope too. You do not have to become a stronger, more capable person before God can carry you through this. He meets you as you are, exhausted and afraid and at the end of yourself. And it is exactly there, in your honest weakness, that His strength does its best work. Your weakness is not the obstacle to God's help. It is the very place where His help becomes most visible. And if these words are reaching something in you tonight, you might write 1 word in the comments. Simply the word, carried. As a quiet way of saying you long to be carried when you can no longer carry at all. And it may help you to see how many others are writing it too, because you are so far from alone in this. Now let me show you something about what you cannot see. There is a moment in the scriptures, in the days of the prophet Elisha, that speaks straight to the heart of being overwhelmed. Elisha and his servant were in a city, and one morning the servant rose early and went out, and saw that the city was surrounded. An enemy army had come in the night with horses and chariots, encircling them completely. A vast force arrayed against them on every side. And the servant was overwhelmed with terror. He ran to the prophet and cried out the question that every overwhelmed heart cries, "Alas, my master, how shall we do? Look at it all. Look how it surrounds us. Look how hopeless it is. There is no way out. We are finished." He counted the enemy, and the enemy was overwhelming, and despair was the only reasonable response to what his eyes could see. That phrase matters, what his eyes could see. Because the servant was not wrong about what he saw. The army was really there. The horses and chariots of the enemy were real, and many, and arrayed against them. He was not imagining the threat or exaggerating it. This is important, because sometimes, when we are overwhelmed, well-meaning people tell us that our problems are not really that bad, that we are catastrophizing, that we should just think positively. But the servant's fear was based on something genuinely there. And Elisha's answer was not to deny the army. He never said, "There is no army, you are imagining it." The threat was real. What Elisha knew, and what the servant could not yet see, was that the real threat was not the whole of reality. There was something else there too, something greater that the servant's panic had blinded him to. And that is so often the truth of our overwhelm. The pressures are real. We are not imagining them, and yet they are not the whole picture. Because there is a greater reality of God's help that our fear has hidden from our sight. But Elisha was not afraid, and what he said to his trembling servant is one of the most steadying sentences in all of Scripture. He said, "Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them." And then Elisha prayed a simple prayer. He prayed, "Lord, open his eyes that he may see." And the scripture says that God opened the young man's eyes, and he looked, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. The unseen army of God, vast beyond counting, had been there the whole time, surrounding them, guarding them, greater by far than the enemy that had so overwhelmed the servant's heart. The threat was real, but it was not the whole picture. There was a greater reality the servant simply could not see until God opened his eyes. This is one of the truest things about being overwhelmed. You are counting only what you can see. You see the demands, the deadlines, the bills, the needs, the rubble, the army of things arrayed against you, and they are real, and they are many. But you cannot see, with your natural eyes, the vast unseen help that surrounds you. You cannot see the God who is for you, more present and more powerful than everything that presses against you. When you are drowning in what you can see, you are like that servant at dawn, counting an overwhelming enemy and missing the mountain full of fire. And the prayer for you is the same prayer Elisha prayed. "Lord, open my eyes, that I may see." Not that the pressures vanish, but that you would see, behind and around them, the greater reality of a God whose help for you is larger than all of it. They that be with you are more than they that be against you. You have just not yet seen the chariots of fire. And notice how Elisha did not scold his servant for being afraid, nor did he pretend the army was not really there. The threat was genuine, and the fear was understandable. Elisha simply prayed that the young man would be given a fuller sight, a truer accounting of what was actually present. That is a prayer you can pray, too, in the middle of your own overwhelm. Not, "God, make me feel better by pretending the pressures are not real," but, "God, open my eyes to the help I cannot see. Help me to perceive behind the visible mountain of demands, the invisible mountain of your presence and your provision and your power, which has been there all along." The overwhelmed heart is a heart with its eyes fixed only on the threat. Healing begins not when the threat disappears, but when your eyes are opened to the greater reality surrounding it. The God who is more for you than everything is against you. Ask Him for that sight. It is one of the kindest prayers you can pray when you are drowning in what you can see. And lest you think this kind of help is only for prophets in ancient stories, let me tell you about a woman in our own time who came to the very end of herself and found God waiting there. Her name is Sheila Walsh, and for years she was a great success. She was a beloved singer, and then the co-host of a national Christian television program watched by millions. From the outside, her life looked bright and blessed and entirely together. But on the inside, she was drowning. The frantic pace of it, the constant performing, the years of pouring herself out with no margin and no rest were quietly destroying her. And beneath it all ran something deeper, a lifetime of striving to be good enough, to be the perfect Christian woman, to earn a love she was terrified she did not deserve. She had made serving God the place she could hide, and she had hidden there until there was almost nothing left of her. And then, one day, it all came apart. She could not keep up the appearance any longer. She walked away from the cameras and the career, and she checked herself into a hospital to get the help she desperately needed. And the voices came, as they so often do. cruel and pious at once. Do you know the damage you are doing to this ministry? As though her exhaustion were a betrayal, as though a Christian who breaks down must simply lack faith. How wrong those voices were, and how much harm such voices do. They are the same voices that whisper in your own exhaustion, that your collapse is a scandal, that needing help is a disgrace, that a truly faithful person would simply carry on. But those who shame the struggling are not protecting the faith. They are protecting an illusion. The illusion that God's people must always appear strong and whole and capable. An illusion that has crushed countless souls, too ashamed to admit they were drowning. Sheila Walsh did something braver than carrying on. She told the truth. She admitted she could not do it anymore. And she reached for help. And in doing so, she not only began to heal, she gave permission to millions of others to stop pretending too. But in that hospital, at the very bottom, with nothing left to perform and no strength left to prove anything, something happened that she had been longing for her whole life without knowing it. On her first morning there, a doctor asked her a simple question. He asked, "Who are you?" And she answered with her name. "No," he said, "I know your name. Who are you?" And she answered with what she did, the co-host of the program. "No," he said, "not what you do. Who are you?" And she had to confess that she did not know. And he said, gently, "That is why you are here." And there, stripped of all her doing, with empty hands and nothing left to bring, Sheila Walsh discovered the thing she had been starving for all along. She discovered that she was loved by God, based on nothing she brought to the table. Loved not for her performance or her productivity or her usefulness, but simply because of who her Father is. By the time she left that hospital, when the doctor asked again, "Who are you?" she could finally answer, "I am a child of the King." She had spent her whole life trying to earn what was already freely hers. What a thing to discover, and what a thing for you to hear tonight, that the love you have been breaking yourself to deserve was never something to be earned in the first place. So much overwhelm is really a frantic effort to be enough, to justify our existence by our output, to silence the fear that if we ever stopped producing, we would be discovered as worthless. But if your worth is a gift, settled before you did anything, then the whole frantic machinery can finally power down. You do not have to earn your place at the table. You were given it. You do not have to justify the space you take up in the world. You are loved into it. The exhausted striver and the resting child are loved exactly the same, because the love was never about the striving at all. And she would later say that God sometimes takes us to a kind of prison in order to set us free. That her brokenness became a far greater bridge to other people than her pretend wholeness had ever been. Her collapse was not the end of her. It was the beginning of her healing. The place where she finally learned that she was loved, as she was, with nothing in her hands. There is something in her story that speaks directly to the exhausted, and it is this. So much of our overwhelm is fueled by the belief that we have to earn our place, our worth, our very right to be loved, by what we produce. We run ourselves into the ground because, somewhere deep down, we are afraid that if we stop performing, we will stop mattering. We have quietly made our doing the basis of our worth, and so we cannot stop doing, because to stop would be to face the terror that without all our output, we are nothing. That is a crushing way to live, and it is a lie. Sheila Walsh ran on that lie until it nearly killed her, and at the bottom, she discovered the truth that sets the exhausted free. Her worth was never her output. She was loved before she did anything, loved at the very bottom with empty hands, loved simply as a child of God. And so are you. You do not have to earn your place by carrying the impossible. You are already loved, already His, already of infinite worth, before you lift a single finger. And when you finally believe that, you can lay the crushing load down, because you are no longer carrying it to prove that you deserve to exist. And hear this, because it matters. Getting help was not her failure. It was her wisdom and her courage. Reaching out, admitting she could not carry it alone, accepting rest and care and the help of others. This was not weak faith. It was the brave and healthy thing that began to save her life. If you are drowning, please hear that the same is true for you. There is no shame in needing help. There is no shame in resting, in asking, in admitting you cannot do this alone. It may be the bravest and most faithful thing you ever do. So let me tell you what is actually true. The truth that all of these point toward. You were never meant to carry it all. This is not a flaw in you. It is the design. You are a finite creature with limits by the deliberate making of God. And your limits are not a defect to be overcome, but a boundary to be honored. Only God is infinite. Only God can carry everything. You were made to carry your portion and to bring the rest to Him. And the exhaustion you feel is often the simple result of trying to carry what was only ever His to carry. The weight of the whole world was never assigned to your shoulders. When you try to hold it all, you are not being faithful. You are trying to do God's job, and you will break under a load you were never built to bear. Lay it down. It was never yours to carry alone. There is a strange pride hidden inside our exhaustion that we rarely notice. We think we are being humble and faithful by carrying everything, but underneath it is often a quiet belief that we must, that it all depends on us, that if we do not hold it together, no one and nothing will. And that belief, however unconscious, is a kind of playing at being God. It puts us in the place only He can occupy, the place of the one who holds everything together. The most freeing thing you can do is to step out of that place, to confess that you are not God, that you cannot hold it all, and that you were never meant to. There is enormous relief in that surrender. It is the relief of a small child who has been straining to lift something far too heavy, finally letting a strong parent take it. You can let go now. The weight you were never meant to carry can be handed back to the one whose weight it always was, and He will not drop it, and He will not break. And the world He holds will not fall just because you finally rested. Rest is not laziness, and it is not a lack of faith. It is woven into the very fabric of how God made the world. He Himself rested on the seventh day, not because He was tired, but to teach His creatures a rhythm of work and rest that we ignore at our peril. He commanded a day of rest as a gift, a regular release from the relentlessness. And He says, in the midst of the storm, "Be still and know that I am God." The striving, the endless pushing, the refusal to stop, these are not the marks of great faith. Very often, they are the marks of a person who has not yet learned to trust God enough to rest. Rest is an act of faith. It is saying, "The world will not fall apart if I stop. because I am not the one holding it together. God is. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to rest. God built you to need it. And there is something profound hidden in the fact that God rested. He did not rest because he was depleted. The infinite God does not run out of strength. He rested to establish a rhythm, to bless rest, to mark it as holy, and to teach his creatures that the world is held by him and not by us. When we refuse to rest, we are, in a quiet way, declaring that the world depends on our ceaseless effort, that we cannot afford to stop because everything would fall apart. But to rest is to make a different declaration. It is to say, with our very bodies, that God is God and we are not. That the world is in his hands and not ours. That we can lay down our work and the universe will go on turning because someone greater is keeping it. This is why rest is an act of worship and trust, not laziness. Every time you stop, in faith, and let yourself be still, you are preaching a small sermon to your own anxious heart. God is holding everything, and I can rest. The most overworked among us are often not the most faithful, but the most frightened, the ones who have not yet learned to trust God enough to stop. Learning to rest is learning to trust. You only have to carry today. This may be the most freeing truth of all. So much of your exhaustion comes not from today's actual load, but from carrying tomorrow's, and next week's, and next year's, all piled on top of today, all at once, in your mind. You are trying to bear the cumulative weight of a future that has not even arrived. But God gives strength for one day at a time, like bread that must be gathered fresh each morning. Jesus said it plainly, "Take no thought for the morrow, for tomorrow will take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof." You are not required to carry tomorrow today. You were never given the strength for it, because you were never meant to carry it yet. All you have to carry is this one day, and for this one day, there is enough. Think about how much of your present exhaustion is not even about today at all. Today, perhaps, is manageable, just barely. But you are not only carrying today, you are carrying the dread of next week's deadline, and the fear of next month's bill, and the worry about how you will possibly manage when the next hard thing comes, and the imagined weight of 100 future days all stacked onto this single present moment. No wonder you are crushed. You are trying to lift today, a load made up mostly of tomorrows. And the strength for those tomorrows has not been given yet, because it is not yet needed. This is why the manna in the wilderness could only be gathered one day at a time. Why the bread we are taught to pray for is daily bread. Why the promise is that as your days are, so shall your strength be. God meters out his grace to match each day's actual need, not the imagined need of all your days at once. So when you feel yourself sinking, ask yourself honestly, can I get through just today? Just this hour? Just this next thing? Almost always, the answer is yes, with God's help. For this much. It is the future, dragged into the present, that drowns us. Set it back down where it belongs. This is part of why being present, simply here, in this one moment, is such a quiet refuge for the overwhelmed. In this actual moment, right now, as you listen, you are most likely safe. You are breathing. You have what this moment requires. The catastrophe you fear is not happening now. It lives in the imagined future. And the practice of gently returning your mind from the terrifying maybe of tomorrow to the manageable reality of right now is one of the kindest disciplines you can learn. When the flood of everything rises, you can put your hand on something solid, take one slow breath, and say to yourself, right now, in this moment, I am held. I have what I need for this breath, this minute, this single step, and then the next. The overwhelmed mind lives in a future that has not come. Peace is found by coming home to the present, where God actually is, where grace is actually given, one present moment at a time. And you can cast the weight onto someone strong enough to hold it. The scripture does not say to grit your teeth and carry your cares better. It says to cast them, to throw them onto God, casting all your care upon Him, for He careth for you. He is inviting you to take the crushing weight off your own shoulders and hand it to His. He cares for you. The God who holds the stars is not too busy or too distant to carry your overwhelming Tuesday. You can give Him the list that will not end, the people you cannot help enough, the future you cannot control, all of it, and find that His shoulders are wide enough for what is breaking yours. And look closely at the reason the scripture gives for why you can cast your care on Him. For He careth for you. The casting is possible because of the caring. You are not throwing your burdens into an indifferent void, or onto a reluctant God who sighs at the interruption. You are handing them to a Father whose heart is bent toward you in tenderness, who is not weary of you, who does not find your needs a nuisance, who genuinely cares about the small, crushing details of your overwhelming life. This is not a God who tolerates you. It is a God who loves you, who notices, who counts your sleepless nights and collects your tears, who is moved by your exhaustion the way a loving parent is moved by the sight of their child worn out and struggling. The weight you are carrying matters to Him because you matter to Him. So when you bring it, you are not imposing. You are doing exactly what a beloved child is meant to do, running to the Father who has been waiting all along to help carry what is too heavy for you. Now, I want to be careful and honest here because comfort can be misused. I am not promising you that if you pray hard enough, all the demands will suddenly vanish and your life will become easy. The wall still had to be built, stone by stone. The army was still at the gate. Sheila still had a long road of healing. God's comfort is usually not the instant removal of the load. It is His presence in the load, His strength meeting you in it, His carrying of what you cannot, and His promise to give you enough for each day as it comes. The circumstances may not change tomorrow, but you do not have to face them alone, or carry them all, or be crushed by them, because the God who is with you is greater than all of it, and He will give you, day by day, exactly what that day requires. So let me name the lies that the weight has been telling you, and answer each one. The first lie is that if you really trusted God, you would not feel this overwhelmed. But you have already seen that this is false. The Lord Jesus Himself was overwhelmed to the point of anguish in the garden. The builders of the wall confessed they were not able. The scriptures are full of faithful, godly people crushed under heavy loads. Overwhelm is not the opposite of faith. It is the human condition. And faith is not the absence of the weight, but the bringing of the weight to God. Set down the guilt. Your exhaustion is not a verdict on your faith. It is simply the honest condition of a finite person carrying too much. And it is exactly the kind of thing God meets with compassion, not condemnation. In fact, some of the most faithful people who have ever lived were also some of the most overwhelmed. The prophets grew weary. The apostles were pressed beyond measure. Faithful believers in every generation have known seasons of crushing exhaustion, of feeling they could not go on, of crying out to God from the bottom of their strength. Their faith did not exempt them from being overwhelmed. Their faith was what they clung to while overwhelmed. So do not imagine that the truly spiritual float serenely above the weight of life while only you sink beneath it. The truly spiritual feel the weight as keenly as anyone, sometimes more. And they have simply learned to carry it to God rather than to carry it alone. That is the only difference faith makes here. Not that you stop feeling overwhelmed, but that you have somewhere to bring the overwhelm, someone to cast it upon, a father to run to in the weight. Your exhaustion places you not outside the company of the faithful, but squarely within it. The second lie is that it all depends on you, that if you stop, even for a moment, everything will collapse. But you are not the one holding your world together. You never were. God is. The sun will rise tomorrow without your help. The people you love are held by God, not only by you. The endless tasks are not, in fact, more important than your soul and your body, which are breaking under the belief that everything depends on you. It does not. You are a steward of your corner of life, not the atlas holding up the sky. And when you finally believe that, you can loosen your white-knuckled grip and discover that the world does not, in fact, fall apart when you rest, because someone far stronger than you has been holding it all along. Test it, gently, and see. The next time the fear rises that you cannot possibly stop, that if you rest even for an evening, the whole fragile structure will collapse, try resting anyway, just a little, and watch what happens. The dishes will still be there in the morning, yes, but the world will not have ended. The people you love will have survived an evening of you being still. The tasks will wait, as tasks always do, and you will return to them with a little more strength than you had before. Slowly, through small experiments in letting go, you teach your anxious heart a truth it has forgotten, that you are not actually the load-bearing pillar of the universe, that things hold together by a power other than your own frantic effort, and that you are permitted, genuinely permitted, to be a finite creature who rests. The grip loosens one finger at a time, but it does loosen, as you learn, again and again, that what you let go of does not fall, because God was holding it the whole time, underneath your hands. The third lie is that resting, or asking for help, is weak or lazy or faithless. But you have seen Nehemiah pray and share the load among many hands. You have seen Sheila Walsh find healing by reaching out and accepting help. You have heard God Himself command rest as a gift. Asking for help is not weakness, it is wisdom. Resting is not laziness, it is obedience and trust. The person who refuses all help and never rests is not the most faithful. They are often the most afraid, unable to trust that God and others can be relied upon. Let people help you. Let yourself rest. It is not a failure. It is the way you were designed to live. The fourth lie is that you are failing everyone. But hear the truth. You are not failing. You are a finite person doing your honest best under a genuinely crushing load. And that is not failure. That is faithfulness in hard conditions. You cannot do the impossible, and it is not a moral failing to be unable to do the impossible. The guilt you carry for not being enough for everyone is guilt for not being God, and you were never asked to be. Lay it down. Doing your best under too much is not failing. It is being human. And God is not disappointed in you for having limits He Himself gave you. And consider that the people you fear you are failing would likely be heartbroken to know how harshly you judge yourself on their behalf. The ones who love you do not keep a ledger of your shortfalls. They love you, tired and imperfect and stretched too thin as you are. Your children do not need a perfect, infinitely available parent. They need a real one who loves them, even an exhausted one. Your work does not require you to sacrifice your health and soul on its altar. No job is worth that, and the ones demanding it are wrong to demand it. Much of the guilt you carry is guilt you have manufactured against a standard no one who loves you actually holds you to. You have been a far harsher judge of yourself than anyone else would ever be, condemning yourself for not meeting an impossible standard that exists mainly in your own exhausted mind. Set that judge aside. The people who matter do not need you to be superhuman. They need you to be here, and to be well enough to keep being here. Which means they need you to stop crushing yourself under a guilt you never deserved to carry. And the fifth lie is that it will always be this way, that you will never get out from under this weight. But seasons change, and this crushing season is not the whole of your life, even though it feels endless from inside it. The wall did get built. The morning did come. Strength is given for each day, and the days do, eventually, lighten. You will not always be this submerged. Hold on through this season, taking it one day at a time, and trust that the God who is carrying you now will carry you all the way through to the other side, where you will breathe freely again. It is one of the deceptions of deep exhaustion that it erases your memory of every other season. From inside the weight, it feels as though it has always been this way and always will be, as though this crushing pressure is simply the permanent shape of your life now. But that is the tiredness talking, not the truth. Your life has had other seasons, lighter ones, and it will have them again. Children grow, crises pass, circumstances shift, strength returns, loads change. The very permanence you feel is one of the cruelest lies of overwhelm, because it steals your hope. And hope is exactly what you need to endure. So when the voice says it will always be like this, answer it honestly. No, this is a season, a hard and heavy season, but a season, and seasons end. The God who has carried you this far has not brought you here to abandon you in the middle of the river. He will carry you to the far bank. You will stand on dry ground again. You will breathe freely again. This is not forever, however much it feels like it tonight. And if the weight has grown so heavy that you have begun to feel you cannot go on, if the overwhelm has darkened into a despair that frightens you, please, do not carry that alone for one more day. Reach out, tonight if you can, to someone you trust, a friend, a pastor, a doctor, a counselor. Like Sheila Walsh, reaching for help is not weakness or faithlessness. It is the brave and wise and faithful thing to do. And it may be the very lifeline God uses to carry you through. You are not a burden. You are a beloved child, carrying too much. And you were never meant to carry it without help. So what do you actually do when everything is too much? A few gentle things. Bring the honest "I cannot" to God. Do not perform for Him. He is not impressed by your pretending to cope. Pour out the truth of how overwhelmed you are, how tired, how close to the edge. Cast the whole crushing weight onto Him, the list, the fear, the people, the future, all of it. He can hold what you cannot, and He would so much rather have your honest collapse into His arms than your exhausted performance of being fine. Take only the next step, only today's portion. Stop trying to carry the whole wall, the whole future, the whole impossible mountain of it, all at once. You cannot, and you were never meant to. Just the next stone. Just this one day. When the overwhelm rises, bring yourself gently back to the single next thing in front of you, and let tomorrow's weight stay in tomorrow, where the strength for it will be waiting when you arrive. There is great practical mercy in this. When everything feels like too much, the mind tries to hold the entire mountain at once, and the entire mountain is genuinely unbearable. But you never actually have to do the entire mountain at once. You only ever have to do the next small thing. Wash this one dish. Answer this one message. Take this one step. The whole impossible list shrinks in any given moment to a single doable action. And that single action you almost always can manage. So when the panic of too much rises in your chest, gently narrow your focus from the whole crushing horizon down to the one small thing directly in front of you. And do only that. Then the next. The wall was not built by anyone who could see the whole finished wall in a single day. It was built by people who picked up one stone and set it, and then picked up another. You will get through this the same way every overwhelmed person who has ever gotten through has done it. Not all at once, but one stone, one step, one day at a time. Refuse to carry it alone. Let people in. Ask for the help you have been too proud or too afraid to ask for. Share the load among many hands, as Nehemiah did, and build in real rest, without guilt, as a holy and necessary thing. Stop. Breathe. Sleep. Take the day off. Be still before God with nothing to prove, and ask Him to open your eyes to the help that surrounds you, the chariots of fire you cannot yet see, so that you may know, even in the wait, that they that are with you are more than they that are against you. And let me name the rest gently and specifically, because the overwhelmed often need permission to do the obvious. You are allowed to sleep. You are allowed to say no to something, even something good, even something people expect of you. You are allowed to let a lesser thing go undone in order to protect a greater thing, like your health or your family or your soul. You are allowed to take a true day of rest, where you do not earn or produce or prove anything, and simply exist before a God who loves you, whether you accomplish a single thing or not. You are allowed to ask someone to carry part of what you have been carrying alone. None of this is failure. None of it is selfishness. It is the basic, sane care of a finite creature for the one body and one life God has given them. The relentless culture around you will not give you permission to rest. It profits from your exhaustion. So hear the permission from a higher place tonight, your Maker, who rested, who commands rest, who calls you beloved apart from all you're doing, gives you leave to stop. Take it. Let me leave you with this, and then I will let you go gently. Imagine you have been handed a heavy pack and told you must carry it on a long journey, many days across hard country. And imagine you try to carry, all at once, the full weight of every single day of that journey. Every mile of it loaded onto your back from the very first step. You would not make it past the first hour. You would collapse under a weight no human being was built to bear. But that was never how the journey was meant to be walked. You were only ever meant to carry one day's portion at a time. And at the end of each day, when the light fades, you are meant to set the pack down, to lay it fully down, and rest through the night with nothing on your shoulders at all. And in the morning, when you rise to walk again, you will find that the strength for that day has been given fresh, just enough, exactly enough for the miles in front of you. As thy days, so shall thy strength be, the old promise says. Not strength for all your days at once, crushing you in the present. Strength for each day, given as that day arrives. Notice the quiet genius of that arrangement. If God gave you, today, all the strength you would need for the next 10 years, you would be overwhelmed by the sheer power of it, and you would be tempted to rely on your stockpile rather than on Him. So instead, He gives it the way the body receives breath, one breath at a time. Never the whole supply at once, always exactly enough for the moment you are in. This means that the strength you are desperately searching for tonight, the strength for next month's crisis, for next year's unknown, was never supposed to be in your hands yet. You are exhausted partly from rummaging for a strength that has not been issued, because it is not yet needed. The grace for tomorrow is real, and it is coming, but it will arrive with tomorrow, not before. Your job is not to stockpile strength for a future you cannot see. Your job is to take the strength given for today, use it for today, and trust that when tomorrow comes, its own fresh portion will be there, gathered like new bread at the door each morning for as long as you live. So set it down tonight, the whole impossible weight of it, the tomorrows you were never asked to carry yet. You were never given the strength for tomorrow today, because today you do not need it. Carry only this day, and even this day, not alone. Lay the pack down now, and rest, and let the God who never sleeps watch over all you have set down. And when morning comes, the strength will be there to meet it, fresh as the dawn, sufficient for the day. You do not have to carry it all. You never did. You only have to take His hand and walk, one day at a time, all the way home. So tonight, before you sleep, do one small thing. Take the heaviest thing you are carrying, the one that has been sitting on your chest, stealing your breath, and in the quiet, hand it to God. Say it plainly, "This is too heavy for me, and I am giving it to you for tonight." You can pick it back up in the morning if you must, but for tonight, let Him hold it. Let your shoulders come down from around your ears. Let the grip of your hands loosen. Let yourself be, for a few hours, not the one holding everything together, but a tired and beloved child, resting in the care of a Father who never sleeps and never tires, and never once resents the weight you bring Him. The wall will still be there tomorrow, and so will the strength to build it, given fresh with the morning. But tonight, you may rest. You are allowed. You are loved. You are not alone. And the God who has carried you this far has no intention of putting you down now. Lay it down, dear heart. He has you. He has always had you. And He will carry you and all you have set down safely through to the morning,